Yesterday we have discussed the events and we have discussed the event parameters, how to pass event parameters through BOR as well as through the ABAP class. So the event present in ABAP class got successfully executed, which we have used the standard class and standard class method, that is raise, and before that we have tried to fetch the reference through get event parameter, and then we have passed that parameters to the raise method, and then we have triggered the event. So yesterday the bar was when I try to execute in the board, when I try to pass the parameters in the board, it was not passed. So today we will see what we have to do it to pass the event parameters in the board. So any doubt for yesterday class? So I'm just trying to show you what to do to pass the event parameters in the board object. So actually in the board the problem is, like, if you try to pass it through the container element, like we have tried to put that in element and value, and then we have appended that in the LTCONT container, and then we have tried to pass that container to the event. So what we will be doing here, the method which we have applied yesterday won't work in the case of BOR. Rather we have to use macros instead of that. So in the macros, as we know that these BOR are actually created with the help of these macros, you can find out in methods if you take the example of BUS 2032, and in there if you go to the method, you can find many macro statement. So the macros, like, if you have to first include this CNT and 01, this is the include where all the macros are available. So you will have to use this set element of that particular macro. So I will create again so that I can make you understand a better way. Let me create. I will try to pass the event parameters through macros. I will populate the container element through macro. So first I will include CNTN01. Now here first I will use the statement. This is the macro called SWC container. Here this particular statement, this particular macro is responsible to create one container element, that is declare one element. So here of the variable name is container, or you can have LTCONT or as well. Let me write LTCONT so that you can map it with what we did yesterday. So this is, you are just declaring one container element through this SWC container. Now I will write SWC set element. Set element in LTCONT, the name is sales document. This is the event parameter name, And as you would have remembered that in save we were having two event parameter, one was sales document and other was sales document type. Here suppose I am writing LV Veblen, and in this LV Veblen we will be populating the data. Now one more statement we have to write, set element LTCUNT, and this will be sales document type. And here suppose I'm writing the type, declare it, and then populate the data. Now you can see I have declared only two variables. I have populated the data and I have set those variables, those data, those value in the LTCUNT. So this LTCUNT will have two parameters, that is sales document and sales document type, and the value will be set in these parameters. Now I will call the event function module. Here in object type, as we were having ZABCD, and in object key we will be passing the value. And in event we were having event as save. Now here in event container we will have to pass that LTCUNT. So this LTCUNT contains two parameters, sales document and sales document type. Save it. Right, commit work. Now activate. Just a second. Okay, CNT and so it has been saved. And now what we will be doing, let me debug it so that we can understand. I just want to show you in what we have in this LT container. You can see here we are having two element and the value is there. Fine. Now press F8. So it has got triggered. Let us see whether in the event trace whether this was event was captured or not. Okay, fine, it was captured since we have created this workflow yesterday and we have tried to get the data from the event. So let me first open this workflow. It is 900325. So you would have remembered we have created two container elements in this particular workflow, which would definitely receive the data, the values from the event, and we have done the binding as well. In this event we have done the binding. Here we have done the binding. The binding is from this event to the workflow. So we are populating this parameters in the program, and that particular parameters are getting transferred from the event to the workflow, and in this user decision step I am using those two values. Okay, so this is how you can pass the values. Now I will show you whether it is passed or not. Go to event trace. Now double click on it, go to work item, go to this table icon and press Ctrl P. Now first see the container elements, whether it is there or not. You can see here in this particular pop-up, the sales order number is 6128 and AURTCRF. So this what I have populated in the web program. So you can see the data has been flowed from the program, that is from the event to the workflow. Now I will go to the business workplace so that I can see this work item. In that work item, in the &1, we have two placeholders, that one &1 and &2. In first ampersand, the sales order was there, and in second, the AURT doc type was there. Now you can see here, this dynamic value has got populated, and this has been flowed from the event to the workflow. So this is how you can work with BOR, and in case of a BAP class, I have already shown you through that append. You can use the word append and can populate the container elements and can pass that event parameter to the raise method, and that method will pass the event parameter, the values present in that event parameter, to the workflow. Any doubt till this? Now this was how to pass the event parameters in both case. Fine. Now I will show you next is, let me go to workflow builder, the event creation, how to create the event, okay, through the workflow. Go to create mode. First save it. I'm using the step type event create in the workflow. Create. Go to event create. Step. I think 3 steps were remaining, and that was event create and your local workflow regarding this event, and one was wait for event. So I will be discussing all 3. Step name is suppose create event. Now here trigger event, and for this first you need to create the container element. First let me create container element. Double click on it. First create the container element. Suppose zwork5. We were having fetch event in this particular class, so I'm just using it. You can create any event of anything like a ABAP class or the BOR. So here I have created one container element. Now first save it. Now again double click on it, and here in the container, go to this ztestwork5 and give the event. Okay, it has got automatically populated. Now save it and activate. So for this, first you will just let me test it. We use this event create for local event. We don't use it for external event. For local event we use it. Just give me a second. You can see here, once I have executed that fetch event of this class, the event has got triggered through that event create and this particular workflow which we have built yesterday, and we have activated the linkage between this event and the workflow. Therefore this workflow has captured this particular event and has executed. So this is how you can create the event in the workflow through event create step. Like what we used to do in ABAP editor, like we used to write some programs and we used to write some few piece of code to trigger the event. If suppose there is a requirement to trigger the workflow from the workflow itself, and then you can use this particular step to create the event, which will trigger the event, and the workflow will capture that event. Not the same workflow, other workflow will capture the event. Any doubt on this event creation? Next I will show you how you can create the local event, because you can see here we are having two options available. This trigger event and trigger local event. So trigger event is the external event which I have shown you, this fetch event of this class, and we have this trigger local event. So I will show you how you can trigger the local event. First go to this hat button, go to this version dependent and go to this local event. So here first write the name of the event. Suppose local underscore event. Save it, go back. Now double click on it and just select this local event, and in this local event you can see we have an option. Just select that, press enter. Now save it. Now this local event means this particular event will be triggered local to the workflow. It is workflow specific. So this workflow is only going to handle that event. It's going to capture that event. So since this is local to the workflow, suppose there is a requirement like perform, what we have in ABAP called subroutines, like you write some perform and then you write some form and end form statement. So whenever that perform is executed, that form and end form gets executed. So similarly here, I have triggered one local event. This is similar to perform. Now I am going to write some form and end form. This form and end form is written in the form of local workflow. So just select this local workflow, and in the local event give this particular event which we have defined as a local event and click on enter. You can see here we have got one local workflow which will get executed whenever this event is fired, whenever this local event is fired. So now suppose you create one user decision step. This is we are creating in the local workflow. Save it. Now the problem will be here is if you execute this particular workflow, the event will be fired, okay, and the workflow will get completed despite waiting for this local workflow to get completed. So because of this we will have to create some steps so that it will stop there and it will allow the local workflow to get executed, then the main workflow will get completed. So we can create one user decision step. I'm just writing main workflow so that you can differentiate between these two work items. Now save it and activate it. So what I did here is I have created one local event and I have triggered that local event. Now I have created one local workflow which is similar to form and end form, so that whenever that local event is triggered, this local workflow gets triggered and then the steps which have been defined in the local workflow gets executed. Next, I have created one user decision step because whenever this main workflow get executed, it doesn't wait for the local workflow to get executed and it gets completed. So to just to stop it, I have created one user decision step. Now I have activated. Now I will test it. Execute it. Now first I will go to business workplace. I will have two items, two work items. One will be of local workflow and one will be of main workflow. So this main local workflow, which is the item which I have created in the local step. So whatever you defined, whenever that event is created, that local workflow gets executed simultaneously. Like it doesn't wait, the main workflow doesn't wait till the local workflow gets completed. It gets executed simultaneously and then the workflow gets completed. So here you can see we are having this local workflow item as well as we are having the main workflow. So it was executed in parallel. So that's the reason the main workflow item is also present. So this is how the local workflow and the local event works. So any doubt in this? Yes, Rajesh?
Both the workflows will be triggering by itself, and we can call this main workflow in any other workflow also.
Definitely, you
or
can.
Local.
No, you cannot call the local workflow because it is local to the workflow, but you can call the main workflow. So whenever this main workflow is executed, the event create step will get executed, which will ultimately call the local workflow.
Okay. And the main workflow which we have created, no? That can you show me the step once again, please?
Yeah, sure. First, you will have to create one event create step. Here you can write anything in step name and outcome name. In event creator we have two options. If you want to trigger one external event, then you can use this. If you want to trigger some local event, you can use this. And in the local event we have defined here in the hat section, go to this hat, and in the version dependent go to this local event. Here you have to define the local event. It is specific to the workflow. That's why it is written as current workflow version. This is specific to the workflow, not to the others workflow.
Actually, it
Yeah,
it will work for this workflow only.
right.
It
It
will
is
work for this workflow only.
right, definitely. This local event will work for only this workflow because it is local to this workflow. Okay, so if you
Okay.
create this event, then I have created like this. I have right click on it and create, and you just select this local workflow. Once you select this local workflow, you will get one icon over here. Just in between you can create any step according to the requirement. If suppose you want that you want to send one mail, or if you want some condition to be verified, or if you want some work item to be sent, or you want some activity to be executed, so you can just execute write that or create that step in that particular local workflow block. And then you will have to create one user decision step below that, so that it will wait for the local workflow to get completed. Otherwise, this whenever this main workflow gets completed, this local workflow gets completed automatically. It doesn't wait for it. So you will have to create one user decision step. In fact, you can create one dummy step so that it will wait for the event to local workflow to get completed.
Okay, we can use over the this one, no, delay also we can use, no.
Which delay?
Means that we apply for that time delay also, no,
In
for
ABAP?
triggering the workflow.
In
No,
ABAP?
this one in workflow also
Yeah,
we set the
correct.
delay part also.
Definitely, I will be showing you that requested start latest and in delay in the sense what the work item to be get appeared in the
Wait for
inbox
this
of the
local.
user. This wait for
Wait
local
for this.
event. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes, I will show you in the next step. That wait for event
Okay.
step. Okay. So this is what the local event and local workflow works. Yes, Hitesh.
Yeah, actually,
Hello.
what will the scenario? Yeah, what will be the scenario where we use this
Yeah.
local box?
Suppose there is scenario like if somebody has approved one request, suppose some local like perform and form, you want to execute some small steps. Suppose you want to save something in database only, and that should be excluded from the main step. So you can just have that saving the data in the database in the local workflow, and you can just trigger one event in the main workflow so that it will save parallelly simultaneously in the database. The data will be saved in the database. You can just design it accordingly. Suppose you want to explicit some requirement from the main workflow, you can do it through local workflow. And if you want to execute in parallel.
Okay.
So this was the two steps. Now the third step is wait for event. For wait for event, first I will have to discuss many things and about that class. So first let me discuss about class. I think you would have remembered that we were having this class Test Work 5. So as I told you that I will be discussing all these methods and the interface, this IF underscore workflow. So why we use this, what is the impact, what is the advantage, what is the process flow of this IF underscore workflow. So first let me tell you why we use this IF underscore workflow. Suppose there are 10 number of classes, and these classes can be used anywhere. It's not like you are using it in the workflow only. So to use it in workflow, you will have to create one interface in the interface section of the class. and the interface name will be if underscore workflow. Whenever you write this if underscore workflow in the interface section, two other interfaces, that is bi underscore object and bi underscore persistent, these two interfaces gets populated by default. Once you write this if underscore workflow and press enter, these two interfaces will get populated by default. So we use this if underscore workflow so that the classes can be recognized by the workflow, and the workflow would be interacting with this class and will come to know that okay, this class is now used in the workflow, so I'm going to use this class only. So this particular interface has some few methods defined, and when you press enter, these methods, these 6 methods gets populated by default. We don't write this method, these methods gets populated by default. And this method, you can see this is a bi persistent interface method, and these first 3 are the bi persistent interface method, and the rest one is bi object interface method. So once in the interface section, as I told you, once you write if underscore workflow and press enter, these two interfaces gets by default, and the methods defined in bi underscore object and bi underscore persistent also gets populated by default. So these are the interfaces methods. As we know that the interface just define the template and the methods are defined in that, but we do not implement that method in the interface. Rather, we create the class and we implement the interface in the class, and all the methods are implemented in the class. As we know that suppose we are having one method called create the fruit. So the fruit can be banana, the fruit can be apple, the fruit can be orange. So these 3, banana and this apple and this orange, are the classes, and according to them they are assigning the name. So this name, suppose the name method is defined in one interface called fruit, and these banana and this apple and this orange are the classes which gives the name to the name method according to the class. So these 3 classes are going to implement that fruit interface, and the method will be implemented in the respective classes, because each classes has the different names, so they can implement the code according to their requirement. Similarly, in if underscore workflow, we are having these 6 methods called find by lpor, refresh, default attribute value, execute default method, and the release. So these are the methods defined in the interface, and in the class we are going to implement it. Now coming to the first method, that is find by lpor. You can see here it is the static method. It means that this method can be called by any of the workflow. So this actually what this workflow do, this workflow has one local persistent object reference. It create one object which is a local persistent object, and this find by lpor converts this local persistent object to the ABAP object. So this this workflow create one object, so it can only interact with ABAP class only when it is converted to the ABAP object. So this find by lpor is responsible to convert the workflow object to the ABAP object. Then only the workflow can use this particular ABAP class. Once it create the object, the rest of the method, that is lpor, refresh, default attribute value, execute default method, release, can be used, because these are the instance methods. So to use or to call the instance method, we need one object. But to call the static method, we don't need the object. Rather, we can directly call through the class. So the static method is called automatically. We do not need to create the instance, but rest of the methods we need the instance to call the methods, these instance methods. So first method is responsible to convert the workflow object to the ABAP object. Then only the workflow can use other methods of the ABAP class. Now this LPOR, coming to this LPOR do the opposite to what we do in find by LPOR. Find by LPOR convert workflow object to ABAP class, and this LPOR convert ABAP class object to the workflow object. So the vice versa is done in find by LPOR and LPOR. So both are opposite. Now coming to the refresh. This refresh method is responsible to refresh the object. Just like we write refresh statement in ABAP class, similarly this refresh is responsible to refresh the object from the buffer. Now coming to default attribute value. Suppose we have one suppose sales order number, and I want that one default, whenever that particular sales order is created, one default suppose description will get populated by default. So if you want to populate some default value, you can write in the default attribute value method. Now coming to execute default method. If you want that whenever sales order is created and whenever this ABAP class object is created, if you want that to execute one default method, then you can write that method in the execute default method in the method section. Now coming to release, it actually release the object, and the object is collected by the garbage collector. So these are the 6 methods which is defined automatically, but we have to implement it in the respective classes. So first 2 methods are very important, and the rest 4 methods we do not use it. So the rest 4 methods, but you should implement all the 6 methods. So the rest 4 methods can be implemented just by having one space in between it. Suppose you double click on it, go to change mode and just press the space and save it. As we know that if you are implementing the interface methods, you will have to implement all the methods of that particular interface. So I don't have any code to write in all these 4 methods. So what I will be doing, I will be just implementing it through space. And in the first 2 methods, I will show what to write. Now, coming to first 2 methods, that is find by LPOR. Let us see what we are having in this find by LPOR. Here you can see we have 2 parameters, that is LPOR, and the next is value, that is result. So in the first parameter, that is LPOR, here suppose one workflow is created, okay, in the SWDD workflow builder, and we are having one sales document number, and whenever that sales document number is changed, that workflow is triggered. So in that particular workflow, we will be using this particular class. So as we know that for this particular class and for this particular workflow, suppose the unique key, the object key is sales document number. So the sales document number, through that sales document number, one workflow object will be created, because the workflow instance will be created, that is work item ID of the workflow. So this particular instance, the workflow instance, should be converted to the ABAP instance. Then only the ABAP class can be used. So to convert that particular workflow instance to the ABAP instance, I will show you how to write that code. So in this LPOR, we are having the workflow instance, and you can see here it is of type SIBFLPOR. Just double click on it and see what are the fields available in this particular type. First one is instance ID, second one is type ID, and the third one is cat ID. So in first instance ID, we are having the unique key number. Suppose sales document, then we are having sales document number. In type ID, we are having the name of the object category. That is, it can be name of the class, suppose ztest work 5, or it can be name of the BOR, suppose ZABCD or BUS 2032. So this type ID contains the name of the object type. The instance ID contains the key, that is sales order number, customer number, purchase order number, any unique key number. And in cat ID, this refers to the object category. Suppose if you are using the class, then you will be writing CL. If you are using BOR, then you will be writing BO. So you can see here it is of cat 2. So these three fields get populated whenever one workflow instance is created. So in LPOR instance ID, I will be having, suppose, the sales order number. So I will be using that sales order number to create the ABAP instance, because I have to convert from workflow instance to the ABAP instance. So first let me write some few codes, then I will explain you. So here I am done with the code. So what I did here is, here in LPOR, as I told you, it has three fields called instance ID, cat ID and type ID. So in instance ID, I am having the number, that is sales document number. So I have just populated or moved this instance number, that is sales or document number, to this LV WebLen. And here, as you would be aware of the ABAP class, ABAP, where we use this create object keyword to create the object. So this create object keyword is used to create the object, and the object is stored in result, and it is of type ztestwork5. Since I am going to create the object of this particular ABAP class, that is ztestwork5, so the type will be ztestwork5, and the exporting variable I have given the LV WebLen, that is the key. As we know that for creating an object, if you will have to pass one object key, because these objects are unique. And how can this become unique? Only because of this object key. So this particular sales document number is passed and the object is created, which is stored in this result, and it is of type ztestwork5. So here what I did is, I have converted this particular workflow instance to the ABAP instance. Now whenever this create object is statement gets executed, one constructor is called. So I will have to create one constructor. You can create the constructor, go to change mode. Here you can see we are having one constructor button. Click on that. One constructor will be created automatically in the method section. Just click on it, and in the parameter section write WebLen, and the type will be WebLen. Now why I have written the parameter as WebLen? Because you would have seen in find by LPOR, in the create object statement, I have passed WebLen as the exporting parameter. So this constructor will receive this WebLen and will create the create the object. So this constructor have received the parameter. You can see it has one parameter called WebLen. So this particular constructor has received the WebLen. Now what I am going to do next, here in the attribute section of the class, just define one key element. This is not mandatory, but it's good to have one key element. Your class will be recognized through this particular key element. Give this WebLen and suppose I'm defining one more variable called mpor. This will be an instance attribute. Go to public, make it public, and the type of this mpor will be just give me a second. Let me first copy the type. The type will be SIBF LPOR. So in attributes, we are having two variables. One will be WebLen, which will be acting as a key for this particular class, and the second will be mpor. Any name you can give in attribute, but it should be an instance attribute. Make it as public. And the type will be SIBF LPOR. So this mpor is having this three fields, because we were having three fields in SIBF LPOR, that is instance ID, type ID and cat ID. So here what I am doing is first I will show you how I am going to use these two attributes. First let me come back to the constructor. So first I have shown you how you can convert the workflow instance to the ABAP instance. Whenever you convert it, you write create object, and the type will be the object type will be the class name, and whenever that create object is executed, one constructor is called. So I have passed the WebLen number so that the constructor will receive that WebLen number and will create the object. So now next I am going to write some few codes in constructor. Save it. Now I will explain you. This me, what is this me? This is a object reference to the current class, that is self object reference. I hope you know the this pointer in C++. So this me is similar to this pointer. It is referring to the same class. This me object is referring to the same class. So since we can access the attributes of this particular class through this me, through the object, so this me object is available by default. We don't create it. So this me is referring to the same class. So we have attributes, this WebLen and mpor in the attribute section. I have created just couple of minutes before. This WebLen and mpor was created in the attributes. Let me show you. In attributes, just now I have created two parameters, that was WebLen and mpor, and this mpor we are having three fields, that is instance ID, cat ID and the type ID. So here in the going to the method section again, I'm sorry, okay, so here I'm having two attribute, that is WebLen and mpor. So mpor we are having three fields, that is instance ID, type ID and cat ID. So in WebLen I have populated the WebLen number which I have received from that find by LPOR in that create object keyword. Once that create object was executed, and the WebLen number was passed, this constructor would have been called. and this WebLand will be populated in the attribute of the class, and this instance ID, as I told you, that this instance ID is the unique key number. It can be sales order number, customer number, or purchase order number. So in the instance ID I have populated the key, the number, the sales document number, and in the type ID, as I told you, it will contain the name of the class. So here I have given the name of the class, and in cat ID it was 2 characters. So as I told you, that if you are referring to the class, then you will have to give CL, and if you are referring to BOR, then you will have to give BO. So I will show you why I have written this why I have populated this MPOR and this WebLand. So first save it and activate. That is activated. Now coming to this LPOR. Here I will show the usage which I did before. Here in result, give me MPOR. Whatever code I have written in constructor, you can write in LPOR also. So what was the usage of this LPOR? As I told you that it is opposite to what find by LPOR do. It actually converts the ABAP instance to the workflow instance. So the workflow instance was of type SIBF LPOR. So it was having 3 fields, that is cat ID, instance ID, and the type ID. So these 3 fields is in the result I have just assigned this MPOR. So this MPOR this MPOR was the attribute of the same class. So this MPOR was populated in the constructor, and this MPOR was having 3 values, that is cat ID and type ID, instance ID, and these 3 values were populated and one instance was created, and that instance has been passed to this result. So I have just converted one ABAP class to the workflow instance, ABAP class object to the workflow object. So you can write these 3 code which I have written in constructor in the LPOR also, or you can write in constructor also. So these methods which I have shown you are executed by the workflow system. We don't call these methods. We don't call all the 6 methods. It is called by the workflow system. So if you try to call these methods externally in the workflow, you will get an error. So these methods are not called by us, rather it is called by the workflow system. So first it called find by LPOR, which is responsible to convert the workflow instance to the ABAP instance. And if suppose for raising the event, suppose if you want to raise the event, then find by LPOR is called, and if the workflow is going to handle that event, then LPOR is called. I will show you in wait for event how it works. So for this I want that you should understand at least 2 methods, that is find by LPOR and LPOR. So I am done with it. If you have any doubt, just tell me. Yes, Ramana?
Yeah, could you tell me again regarding find by LPOR?
Yeah, find by LPOR is responsible to convert the workflow instance to the ABAP instance. So this find by LPOR has 2 parameters. One is LPOR and the second one was the result. So in this LPOR we will be having one workflow instance. How it is there, it is of type SIBF LPOR. So it has 3 fields called instance ID, type ID, and cat ID. So in the instance ID, suppose the workflow is being triggered whenever one sales order is changed. So this instance ID will contain the sales order number, and in type ID the name of the class, and in cat ID the category, that can be CL or it can be BO. So these 3 fields, whenever it is populated, it create one instance that will be workflow instance, and in this find by LPOR we will be converting that workflow instance to the ABAP instance. So in this method, whenever you go to that method, you will have to convert it through this create object method. So through this create object method, I am trying to populate the result. This is of type Z test work 5. So I'm just trying to convert this particular workflow instance to the ABAP instance, and I have captured that workflow instance ID, that is the sales order number, to this LV WebLine, and with the same key I'm trying to create the ABAP instance. So this is just to convert the workflow instance to the ABAP instance.
Suppose the same sort of the same sales order number is called again. Suppose multiple times it is going to, I mean, some person is going to trigger this. So every time it is going to create one instance, or it will create only one instance for a particular.
You can have only one instance for one sales order.
But here there is no condition like okay, that we have to take care, I think.
Right. This is a unique. You cannot have more than one. You cannot have
you
the
have
same.
created here create object.
Where? Create object. Oh yeah, in here find by helper. This.
Here only I think we are creating instance for this class, right?
We are creating instance for this class itself.
Yeah, so class itself. So here itself we have to check it, right, whether instance is exist or not.
Yeah, you can, if you have that requirement that whenever you will be having more than one time the sales order number, the object will be created, you can just check. You can write any ABAP code here. I have just shown you how to write. You can write according to that. If you want to check whether the result or the instance is already created, you can check that.
Okay.
So just remember that this find by LPOR will be responsible to convert the workflow instance to the ABAP instance, and LPOR will be responsible to do the vice versa. So these two methods are important, and these two methods are called by workflow system, and we don't call it explicitly. So now I will show you how we can use and what is the usage in wait for event. So for wait for event, let me give you one example. Suppose one sales order is created. Let me create in Paint, and if you can do it as an assignment, it will be good for you. Suppose one sales order is created and one workflow get executed. Suppose this is the workflow, and we are having here steps. Suppose first one is workflow start and the last one is workflow end. And here one user decision step. So here suppose this particular workflow gets started only when sales order is created. So I will have one event. Suppose I have one event. So whenever this event created is fired, this particular workflow gets triggered. Suppose created. Now here suppose I'm having one fork. Suppose I'm having one fork. And here I'm having one fork, and which will end here only. So in between this fork I'm having one step. Just try to understand. In this I will show you, I will build one workflow. So this created one workflow has got executed or triggered whenever one sales order is created. Now it is pending with one manager. So this user decision step has got executed. Now it is pending with one manager. Suddenly, suppose that sales order is again changed. So one changed event will be triggered. Suppose one changed event is triggered. Here I am writing the changed. Suppose changed. So the changed event will again capture this workflow. So this workflow has captured the created, and the user decision step has got executed. Now it is pending with manager, and suppose other user have changed the sales order. So then again the workflow should get triggered and the previous workflow should be ended because you have made the changes. So the work item which was lying with the manager should get ended, the workflow should get ended, and the new workflow should get started because the sales order has been changed. So here how you can design it, the both event will be captured by the same workflow, and you can create one fork step here. And suppose it is lying with manager, if he would have approved then it's fine, but if it is lying with manager, then you can have one fork event, and here you will have wait for event step, and this wait for event step will be for changed event, the event will be changed. So let me show you how it works. Suppose first created event was fired, the workflow has captured, one user decision step has got executed, and it is lying with manager. Suppose somebody has changed the sales order. Again, the changed event has got fired and this changed event was captured by this workflow. So again the user decision step will get executed, but the previous step, the previous work item will get completed. How? Because this wait for event will also capture the changed event. So what it will do, it will just complete the workflow. So the previous workflow where the user decision step has got where the work item was lying with the manager will get automatically deleted because this wait for event has completed the workflow. So this work item will get logically deleted. So the previous workflow has got completed and the new workflow has got started because of this changed event. So what I will have, suppose I'm having one created work item, suppose one work item where the sales order was created. So that work item will get disappear from my inbox because the work item has got logically deleted because of this wait for event, because this wait for event has captured the changed event and has completed the workflow. And I will have one new work item with the changed sales order. So this is how this wait for event works, and you can design your workflow through this. This is very good example and we use it, and this wait for event actually used in such a manner. First tell me whether you have any doubt in this particular scenario, then I will create one wait for event step. And if you can do this assignment, it will be great to understand this wait for event. Because you can design, you can have anything, sales order, purchase order, customer, because it is subjected to the changes. So if you are having one work item with the created and suddenly suppose somebody changes, then the old workflow should get deleted, and if there is a requirement to delete the old workflow, you can only delete through this wait for event step and through this fork. You will be creating one fork over here, one will be user decision and one will be wait for event. So whenever this wait for event captures that event, it will complete the workflow. Means the step below the wait for event will get executed, whatever step. If you define any one user decision step, or if you want to complete the workflow, so if suppose some few more steps are there, okay, and you want to just complete the total workflow, you can have process control step. You can have process control step which will complete the workflow. So you can design in the way you want. So I'm clear with this particular example of the wait for event. Now let me tell you what you need for this wait for event. If you don't understand, just let me know, but I will try my best to explain you. Suppose one created event, one sales order has been created and the number is 1234. So this workflow has captured that particular event called created and has created one workflow instance. Suppose one workflow instance is created. Now here 1234. As we know, these objects are unique, and the object is unique with the help of this object key. So this workflow instance has got created. Now in user decision, I'm having one sales document number lying with me as for the approval, and the number is 1234. Now this wait for event, you have created one object. First, for the wait for event to get executed, you have to create the object of the ABAP class, because this workflow, we are having workflow instance but we don't have ABAP instance. So before that, you will have to create one activity step here, which will actually create the instance of the ABAP class. Suppose I'm having create. This particular activity is responsible to create the ABAP instance. What it will do, it will convert this workflow instance to the ABAP instance. So I'm having one ABAP instance and it is converted from workflow instance to the ABAP instance with the same key, and here I'm having the number 1234. Now it has been converted. Next, user decision step has got executed and I'm having one instance called 1234 ABAP instance. Now whenever this changed, this wait for event is also having that instance. It holds the instance. This wait for event actually holds the instance and with one unique key. So this wait for event is holding one instance, that is the ABAP instance, and the key is 1234. So whenever this changed event is fired, this wait for event will capture that particular event of that key only. Suppose it is waiting for 1234. Suppose we are having 5 sales order. 1234. Again, I am having one ABAP instance. ABAP instance saying different key. Suppose 4567. And I am having 2 workflows executed. One was for 1234 and the next one was 4567. So we will be having 2 instances. Now whenever 1234 is changed, then the workflow related to 1234 will get completed, not 4567. So that's the reason we create the instance uniquely, so that whenever the changes is made in that particular sales order, then the workflow associated with that sales document will get completed, not the other workflow of other sales document number. So that's the reason we need one instance, and this wait for event always holds the instance with one unique key, so that it can capture that particular event, suppose the changed event of that particular key only, of that particular sales order only, and it's going to complete the workflow related to that sales document number only, not the other workflow. So this is how wait for event works. So any doubt on this wait for event? I will show you in practical also, but first I'm trying to explain you the concept behind it. As we know that for each sales order we are having each unique workflow associated with that sales order. So this wait for event will be also unique, and you can make it unique only with the help of this object key and the instance. So now let us move on to the workflow builder. Now I will be creating one workflow. You can try that assignment. I will show you first how to create the wait for event. Okay, I think the session has got out. Going to workflow builder. Tomorrow I will show you how to call the event in user exit and change document and triggering event, so that we can complete event by tomorrow. So first here I will create one activity step. Okay, first I will have to create one one method in the ABAP class. I don't know. I'm sorry, I was disconnected. I hope I'm audible. Fine. So moving on to SWDD. So before moving to SWDD, I will have to create the method in the ABAP class. I don't know, something went wrong suddenly. So here I will be creating one, going to the change mode, I will be creating one method, and that will be static method. This method will actually create one ABAP class instance. So the parameters for this particular method will be, first I will be giving the Veblen sales document number, and the exporting, in the exporting it will give me the instance of the type ztest work5. So as an importing I will have Veblen, and as the exporting I will be having the object of the class. It will be type ref2 because it is referring to the object. Now I have created two parameters. First one is Veblen and the other one is exporting parameter. Now I will go to the create method and I will write here code create object. Object type is already given. Now in the exporting I will have Veblen is equal to Veblen. So this is actually returning the object of the type ztest work5. Activate it. Activate it. Now I will go to workflow builder. Here I will create one new workflow. So first you will have to create one activity step which will be responsible to fetch the instance of that particular class. As I told you that for wait for event you need one instance of keeping the unique key, one object key in that paint. I hope you have remembered. Let me show that paint. So in this paint, I'm having one create step first, and then this user decision step. So in this create step, I'm just getting one instance of the app class. So that wait for event will hold that instance with the unique key, so that whenever one event is triggered with the same event is triggered with the same object key, that wait for event will capture that particular event. So now here I'm just writing the abbreviation name, work item text is create object, give the object category as a BAP class because I will be using the create method of the ABAP class. It will ask for one transfer missing elements. Just the pop-up will be proposed by SAP itself, so you can just click yes, so that you can get all the container elements in the task itself, like object and Veblen. These two parameters I have created in the method, so these two parameters will be created in the task. Make it synchronous in background, save it. Make synchronous in background. Then you can check for the binding, whether the binding is correct or not. That is from the task to the method. So as I can see, the binding is not there, so just do the binding. Pass this Veblen to the method, that is from task to the method. And in exporting, have this object. Save it. Cancel the default binding proposed by SAP. Cancel the default binding. Now I will be creating two container elements in the workflow. Veblen will be passed, and the object which will be of type ztestwork5 will be fetched. So I have created Veblen. Now I am creating ztestwork5. Any name you can, but it should refer to the ztestwork5 class. So I have created two parameters. One was Veblen and the other one is ztestwork5 element, which is referring to the class. So two parameters were created. Now in the binding of this particular create method, do the binding. That will be the Veblen will be passed from workflow to the task, and the task will ultimately pass this Veblen to the method, create method of the class, and that create method will return the instance to that create object keyword of the class itself, and that object will be passed from the method to the task, and then I am passing that object from task to the workflow. So now here after this I will be having one instance with me in the class in this workflow container. I will be having one instance which will be unique for that particular sales document number. Save it, save the workflow. give the abbreviation, and save it as local object. Activate it. Now create one wait for event step just activity. Now right click on it and select the step wait. Once you select that wait, give the step name, outcome name, anything you can give. And in the container, in the wait, you will be selecting wait for event, and container element, just press F4 and give the container. This was the created in workflow container. So when you press F4, the ztest work file, you can select it. And in event, you can select the event. By default, this fetch event has got populated because we are having only one event present in this class. So you can see we are referring to one class. This wait for event is referring to one class object. So this class object is unique in this particular workflow. So this is wait for event. You can wait for an event or wait for a condition. We are having 4 options, or wait for a local event. So let me show you again. You can define it in any ways. You can see we are having 4 options in this wait for event. So I have chosen this wait for event, so you can explore others. It's very easy. So this wait for event has been created, activated. Now let us check with the ABAP editor, the program. Which we have created yesterday. Here, as I hope you would have remembered, we have this raise method of this class, and the class name was ztest work 5, and the fetch event of this particular class. So what I will be doing here is, and the object key is 6127. Just remember, the object key should be same. Whatever object key I will be using in workflow, and the same object key should be used to raise the event. So the main motive is, let me first execute the workflow. I'm just executing the workflow. So this particular workflow has been executed through the created event. You can create one event created of the sales order document number, and this particular workflow is being executed through that created event, and this wait for event is waiting for that changed event to get triggered. So first, going to the workflow log, let me show you what is done here. Okay, it is in error state. Let me see the error. There is definitely some problem with the binding. This, if you do not have the instance ready, then this wait for event will go into the error state. You will have to check all the bindings. this wait for event will wait for the fetch event, and I will just raise that fetch event in that ABAP editor. Give this Veblen number, suppose 6127. Actually, I have not given the Veblen number. That's the reason the workflow has got into error state, because it was not able to create the object with that particular Veblen number. So you just need to provide the Veblen number. Suppose I am giving 6127, and you just execute it. Once executed, go to the workflow log. If it is not able to create the instance because of any reason, the wait for event will not work. So if I'm providing it from outside, you can provide it from the container element as well. Suppose you are having a sales order document created, so you can just pass the sales document number to this particular Veblen number, and this Veblen number will be passed to the create activity step, and that create method will create the instance specific to that workflow. So here you can see we are having two line items. One is create object. This create object has actually created the instance, and here next step is waiting for one event called fetch of the object type ztest work5, keeping the object key as 6127. So this instance is unique, and now in ABAP editor, here you can see in let us move on to ABAP editor. So here you can see in LV Veblen I am having the same key 6127. So here I will be raising this fetch event. Suppose the changed event of the business object, and with the same key is being raised, is being triggered. Now let us execute it. Then that what will happen, this wait for event will capture that particular event and will execute the subsequent steps. So you can see here in log it has got completed. It was first in the white box, now it has turned into blue box, and the workflow has got completed. You can see going to control P, this wait step has got completed. So I haven't defined anything just below the wait step. If you have anything defined just below the wait step, it will get executed. So through this blue button you can come to know that this particular wait for event has captured that event, that fetch event of the same key, and has completed the step. So once I go to the container element, let me show you the instance which it is holding. So in this instance you can see gtest work5 and 6127. So this is the instance which it is holding of the one unique key. So this instance was there and it was waiting for one event, and whenever that event was fired with the same key, it has captured that event and has executed the subsequent steps. So this way you can design it in your way, as I have shown you one example. So you can just try that example with this wait for event. So any doubt for this wait for event? If you try the example which I have said, you will definitely get clear with this wait for event how it works. Very simple example and very good example. Fine. So this wait for event is used in such a way. I have given the real-time usage, and the steps has been completed with this event. Next I will be not today, tomorrow I will be discussing about this user exit, how to create or trigger the event from user exit, and using the dynamic values. Since I am hard coding it in the ABAP editor in that program, I will show you how to pass the dynamic value. Next I will be showing you triggering event of the task. Like always we used to trigger the workflow, and you can also trigger the task through the event. So if you want that one task should get executed only one event, whenever one event is fired, you can do that. So it's not that you can only trigger the workflow whenever the event is fired, you can do it with task also. So that I'm going to show you, and next I will be showing you the change document. I hope you all you know that whenever there is some changes in one business object or one application, so one change document is associated with that application, and that change document has some event. You whenever if you want that whenever there is changes and whenever there is entry in the change document, then one event should get fired, and that should be subjected to an approval process that should ultimately trigger one workflow. So this change document I will be showing you how you can do that, and I will be showing you some few example of this event also, how to work with this static methods and rest part of the events, so that I can complete it by tomorrow. Next, after some event, I will be discussing the SWU3 transaction, how to do the customization, the configuration, the prerequisite configuration required in workflow, and the troubleshooting and debugging section. And then I will be discussing about WebDriven Pro and how to launch workflow from WebDriven Pro. So I think by 12 the classes will get completed. You will have more than 18 sessions till that day. So by 12th I will try to complete. So see you guys tomorrow. If you have any question, you can drop me mail in lakshmi.kd@imuslearn.co.in. Yes, Ramana?
Yeah, actually, like when you say like if sales order, purchase order, anything, as SAP has given a standard
I'm sorry, your voice is breaking.
with
Yes.
a lot of events and methods, everything, like lot of service.
Actually, your voice got
Yeah,
break, so
actually, if you see about now it's okay. Hello. Hello.
yeah. Just continue.
Hello.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, continue,
Yeah.
Raman.
SAP has given a standard BORs like business
Right.
object repositories like BS 2032, 201 and all.
Right.
Like with the standard with a lot of functionalities in it.
Mm-hmm.
While coming to the class, like there is no is there any standard class like whatever functionalities is there in BOR? The same functionalities is there any standard class or if you use class we have to go with custom class
No,
only?
only I think BOR is available with this application, not the standard class. Because this class has come just
Okay,
now,
well,
like this object oriented has come, I think I think 5 to 6 years before only with this 6-point release. Before it was not there. So this SAP has designed, we would have know that this SAP has designed just many years before. So they have designed it through BOR only. This BOR was there, but now they are actually preferring this object oriented approach. So that's the reason we are using this object oriented. So whatever customization is done, it is done in class, and if you want to use the standard, you can use the BOR.
Okay. Can we? I mean, shall we? Can we get any like exercises like I mean some scenarios?
As I have
and
given you
lot
one
of scenarios
scenario
might be.
today, this is the very important, very good example. You can just try this as wait for event, and I will try to give us some few more examples like on these events, because generally we use to trigger the workflow through events. So I will give you one more example. This is the example, very small example, but you can enhance it in a very good way. So just try this example first, and then I will try to give you some other example also, some other exercises.
Okay.
Okay. You try this. If you face any problem, let me know, because you can try with anything. Either it can be sales order, anything you can
Yeah,
try.
like in this example only I have small note actually.
Yeah, tell me.
Hello.
Yeah, just tell me.
Yeah. See, first of all, when sales order will get created, then one instance again the sales order will get created, right?
Right.
At the same time, when it is going to change,
Yeah.
one more instance will get created or the
Same
same
instance. Same instance is going to be used. Just a second. You are saying that the instance, you can see here this wait for event has already completed the workflow, so the instance has got collected by the garbage. So one new instance will be created, but the the previous instance has got means you can say it has been collected by the garbage collector, then only the new instance with the same key has been created. Two instances cannot be created with the same key. First instance has been destroyed with the help of wait for event step, then only the new
Okay.
instance was created. Okay,
Hmm.
so just try this example, and I will try to give some few more assignments. See you guys tomorrow.